number 95. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shining afar through shadows dim, giving a light for those who long have gone, and guiding the wise men on their way into the place where Jesus lay. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawn. Oh, give us a light to light the way into the land of perfect day. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star, the hope of light, guiding a pilgrim through the night, over the mountain till the break of dawn, and into the light of perfect day, it will give out a lovely ray. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawn, and give us a light to light the way into the land of perfect day. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star, the hope of rest for the redeemed, the good and blessed. Yonder in glory when the crown is won. For Jesus is now the star divine, brighter and brighter he will shine. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawn. Oh, give us a light to light the way into the land of perfect day. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Thank you.
Good evening to each of you. It's good to see you here this evening. And on behalf of the Lancaster Christmas Choir, I welcome you here. I trust that you came tonight with a heart to worship, and I believe that that's what the choir is going to do for us tonight, lead us in worship. And just to stir our thinking a little bit, I'd like to read two verses from Isaiah chapter 9, verses 2 and verse 6. It says, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined." And verse 6, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." As I was looking at these verses just a little bit before we came this evening, one of the things that went through my mind was when you think of darkness, you think of confusion, you think of chaos, and disorder. But when you think of light, you think of the exact opposite of that. And you think of the chaos being brought together and order being restored. And for myself personally, thinking about Christ as the light is my favorite way of thinking about Christ, and him coming and shining into the darkness and breaking into the dark and shining light and showing people how to live and restoring order to the chaos of the world. And tonight, as we sit and as we hear these songs being sung, I hope that you can say that you know the Prince of Peace and that you know the Counselor. God is with us, and he has sent his Son, and that's who we're going to worship tonight. So thank you all for coming. Just one announcement before we have a word of prayer. There will be an offering during the intermission, and that offering will be going to Daniel and Amber Miller. They are planning to go over to Greece for mission work, and Daniel will be talking just a little bit at intermission about what they're going to be doing there, so you can be prepared for that at intermission. This time, let's all stand, and we'll have a word of prayer. God, tonight we come before you, and we say thank you that you are a God who wants to know us intimately and personally. And thank you that you provided a way that we can be brought into fellowship with you. Thank you for Jesus Christ. And thank you for this time of the year where we celebrate his birth. And as we think about Christ breaking onto the scene, God, it's immaculate and amazing to think about Christ being a light and breaking across the darkness and shining into that darkness and showing people how to live. God, tonight we say thank you for Christ. And thank you for the gift of salvation that was brought to us through him as a little child. God, we thank you tonight for the choir and for their willingness to come and to share tonight. I pray your blessing upon them. Help them to remember all the songs that they practiced. And God, I pray that you would give them clear voices. And I pray that each of us could be drawn into worship as we sit and listen to them share. I pray this in your name. Amen. You may be seated.
We've got good news to tell.
Glory, glory, hallelujah.
We've got good news to tell.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. We've got good news to tell. Everybody listen well. For this tiny baby who's born today is going to change the world.
We've got good news.
Good news, we've got good news.
Yes, we've got good news.
Good news, we've got good news.
And that is why we're here this evening, because we've got good news to tell. And, this group, I think there's about 30 of us up here. We don't have a whole lot in common. We come from different backgrounds, different churches, but we have a couple things in common. One of them, we love music, we love to sing, and also we are here to sing about Jesus. We love Jesus. He is the good news of this season. So if you look at your program, you'll see we'll be singing a bunch of different songs tonight. There's carols, there's older songs, there's new songs, and singing about the silent night, the angels, the shepherds, all these different things. But the focus of the program, the focus of this Christmas season and of our lives needs to be on that tiny baby that changed the world. Our focus this evening should be on Jesus Christ. We hope you're worshiping with us this evening.
Should a king come?
In a loud shout comes the answer, of course, in a coach of gold with a pure white horse.
In a beautiful city in the prime of the day, and the trumpets should cry and the crowds make way.
And the flags fly high in the morning sun, and the people all cheer for the sovereign one. And everyone knows that's the way that it's done.
That's the way that a king should come.
How should a king come?
Even a commoner understands he should come for his treasures and his houses and lands.
He should dine upon summer strawberries and milk, and sleep upon bedclothes of satin and silk.
And
High on a hill his castle should glow, with the lights of the city like jewels below.
And everyone knows that's the way that it's done.
That's the way that a king should come. How should a king come? On a star-filled night into Bethlehem rode a weary woman and a worried man, and the only sound in the cobblestone street was the shuffle and the ring of the donkey's feet. And the king lay hid in a virgin's womb, and there were no crowds to see him come. At last in a barn in a manger of hay, he came, and God incarnate lay. And the angels cried, Glory, glory to God. Earth was silent, so heaven rang. Glory, glory to God. Men were dumb, so the angels sang. Glory, glory to God. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. Glory, glory to God. Christ is born in Bethlehem. Glory,
Well, Merry Christmas. Ooh, that's loud. I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm excited for these songs, but this next one I'm also really excited about. It's called Jamaican Noel, or in parentheses, he's a tiny little baby. And there's a line in here that I love, but I'll tell you why I love this line. The birth of Christ is the entrance into the world of new life, of Christ walking this earth to conquer death on the cross. There's a line here that says, this tiny little baby is going to make you want to dance or stomp on the devil and dance for joy. Take it as you might. But that's truly what the birth of Christ is about. It's not just Christmas time. It's not just the birth of a king. It is the grand entrance of victory and new life into this world. Join us in our excitement with this song.
Tiny little baby, tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. He's a tiny little baby, he's a tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Pull on the rope, let the church bells ring.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Oh, hear the heavenly angels sing.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Shout from the rooftop loud and clear.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
That Mary's little boy child now is he.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. Tiny little baby, tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. He's a tiny little baby, he's a tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
The devil's been working since the dawn of time.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
To win your heart and steal your mind.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
But Mary's little baby boy.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Will make you stomp on the devil and dance for joy.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. Tiny little baby, tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. He's a tiny little baby, he's a tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Now pull in the net and row your boat ashore.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Go into the closet and shut that door.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
That little voice you hear inside.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
You'll be smart, it be your guide.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. Tiny little baby, tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. He's a tiny little baby, he's a tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Now sound the trumpet, beat on the drum.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
The wondrous holy night has come.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Pluck all the harpstrings you can find.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Cause the tiny little baby gonna save mankind.
Tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. Tiny little baby, tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. Tiny little baby, tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. Tiny little baby, tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. Tiny little baby, tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem. Tiny little baby, tiny little baby born in Bethlehem.
Well, good evening. I almost said good morning. Good evening, everyone. I'm Daniel, and this is my wife, Amber. And she's a native of Lancaster, and I'm not necessarily. I moved down here about 2 years ago. Almost 3 years ago. And you can sit down. Merry Christmas, by the way. It is that time of year. And that first song we sang, We Have Good News to Tell. I like that song a lot. And I think sometimes we're not really sure we have good news to tell. At least sometimes, for me at least, I appear to think that, or I appear to act that way. When I come across someone who doesn't know my good news, do I actually want to share it? Or would I rather just not share my good news? And if I'm not sharing my good news, is it actually good news to me? I was just been challenged by that, singing this song, that I really need to take that and keep it kind of in front of me, that we have the best news on this earth ever, that this world has ever seen. And I was just challenging myself that I need to start acting like it sometimes. I mean, anyway, I just thought I'd share that. That was free, by the way. About 6 months ago, God kind of called us to take His good news farther away from Lancaster, quite a bit farther, actually. He's calling us to work among refugees in Greece. And so we don't have a date when we're going there or anything. But let me just explain a little bit what the situation is in Greece, and why refugees are even coming. So Greece is part of the EU, and a lot of these people who are coming in through there are trying to get to the European Union, trying to get to safety for a lot of them. We were just there a couple weeks ago, just interacting with refugees, hearing their stories, just sitting with them, listening to them. And most of them are not workers. They're not economic migrants. They are coming because they have to. One guy pulled up his shirt and there was bullet holes all up his body. He said he got shot 23 times. And so after that, he didn't want to stay where he was. And another guy, his arm was all twisted up, and he was being attacked by a suicide bomber. He was in the vicinity of a suicide bomber. And then talking with him, I found out his dad had died in another suicide bombing. And so most of these people are not fleeing for money reasons. In fact, some of them would have classified as more wealthy than some of you, or a lot of you even. I mean, they had big houses, they had pools, they had cars, they had everything. And then when violence comes, they lose all that. And so they're fleeing the violence, trying to get to safety. And what that does is that they're fleeing from a lot of Muslim violence. And a lot of them are very disillusioned with Islam. They've watched what happens when you follow Islam to the end. And a lot of them don't want any more of that. And so they're coming into Europe. And so one thing, the Middle East has been is closed off, very, very closed off for missionaries and for sharing our good news. It's very hard to get in there. It's very hard to do profitable ministry because of the persecution and because of just the difficulty of getting to the countries. But this opportunity is unprecedented as far as the ability to reach people who've never heard the gospel, who've never heard our good news before. They're literally coming to a place where you can freely speak as much as you want about the good news, and where they are freer to actually accept it. Because back in their country, if they would accept it, then they could face death and whatever else. But in Europe, they have the freedom to accept it so much more. And a lot of these people are from tongues and tribes who've never heard the gospel before. And they're fleeing out of this violence, away from Islam, into trying to get, in their mind, kind of the promised land of Europe, where they can hopefully get jobs and stuff and maybe wait out the war and go home again. But it's creating this opportunity like we've never seen before. And the Muslim world in general is seeing a revival. I'm trying to remember the statistic. But it's in the last, 14 years or so, there's been I think it's triple the amount of people Muslims coming to Christ than there were in the last 300 years, I think. Just in the last 14 or so years. And that should shock us. I mean, this is really something that God is doing among the Muslim people. And so, what we'll be doing is we will be doing church planting, because they come in and some of them hear Christ through the humanitarian aid that's there. They hear about Christ and they accept Jesus, but when they get to kind of Greece, I mean Athens, there's no discipleship, there's no churches they can go to. And so we'll be doing church planting in Athens, as well as there's and this could be a whole other topic, but there's a very big problem with trafficking through that route. The women are vulnerable, and it's really, really hard. And so we'll be looking at, and in Athens, prostitution is legal in Greece. And so in Athens itself, there's like 800 brothels or so, and almost no resources to help these women. So we'll be looking at putting time and our hearts into helping these people come out of that type of lifestyle and that trade, and finding our good news and what it can do for them. So those are kind of our two main goals in working in Athens. We'll be working with a team and working under the umbrella of D&I. And then coming into the holiday season, I want to just use your imagination for a little bit with me. So, like I said, some of those people have been like you or wealthier than you. And so they've had all the comforts that you've had. They've had swimming pools and cars and everything. And all that's gone. So put yourself in their shoes just for like a little bit. So all that's taken away. Most of them, I mean, hearing their stories, most of them have lost family in violent, traumatic ways. And now they're in this foreign country. And a lot of them, when they first come, they go into camp. There's a big camp called Camp Moria, where there's thousands of them. And now that it's winter, it's Christmas here for us. So after this, we get to go home. We get to sit in our nice warm house, drink our hot chocolate, have family around. Most of them will be sleeping in tents, and a lot of them are wet. The camp was designed for like a couple thousand people, and now it has like 6,000 people. It's way overpopulated. And so the sewer systems are broken. There's sewage running through your tent. Imagine your children being in there with you. It's a very different Christmas than we're going to have. But all that, so then the camp is unsafe. There's violence. There's riots. Imagine trying to bring your children away from violence into this, and you're still not safe, and they're still cold. But that's not the worst news. The worst news is that you don't really know what Christmas is about. Sorry. There's no hope. There's no life. And we take it for granted too often. We come to church and we read our Bibles, and we grew up with it. We grew up with knowing what Christmas is about. A lot of these people have never heard. And that is the worst news. That is what our goal is. They're in a horrible situation, but the worst part of it is that they don't know our God and how much He loves them. And they're coming to a place where we have the opportunity to share it with them. And so we really enjoy singing with this crew here for a couple programs, and I hope you guys enjoy as well. But just this Christmas, when you guys are sitting around, think about others who aren't. And they're not all in Greece. They're in Lancaster. They're in Philadelphia. They're in the little towns around us. People who don't know our good news and who need to hear that. And so I just want to challenge you guys tonight to take Christmas to people. So, thank you.
stand to sing number 99. We'll omit verse 3. Thou didst name thy throne and thy kingly crown, and thou gavest to earth for me. But in Bethlehem's home there was found no room for thy holy nativity. Oh, come to my heart, Lord Jesus. Heaven's arches rang when the angels sang of thy birth and thy royal decree. But in lowly earth didst thou come to earth, and in greatest humility. Oh, come to my heart, Lord Jesus. There is room in my heart for thee. Oh, come to my heart, Lord Jesus, come. There is room in my heart for thee. Thou camest, O Lord, with the living word that should set thy people free. But with mocking and scorn and with crown of thorn did they take thee to Calvary. Oh, come to my heart, Lord Jesus. There is room in my heart for thee. Oh, come to my heart, Lord Jesus, come. There is room in my heart for thee. When the heavens shall ring and his choir shall sing, at thy coming to victory, thou wilt call me home, saying, yet there is room at my side for thee. Oh, come to my heart, Lord Jesus. There is room in my heart for thee. Oh, come to my heart, Lord Jesus, come. There is room in my heart for thee. You may be seated.
In the first half, I think it was our second song, we sang a song that said, how should a king come? And I'm sure you've seen the way it's shown as the Jews expecting something different, the children of Israel expecting their Messiah to come in a certain way. And this time of year has a lot of expectation, I believe. And I'm just wondering, as you approach Christmas, how you're expecting God to be in your Christmas. This next song we're singing is Mary Pondering, or the thoughts that maybe she wouldn't have had or wouldn't have known what to expect. I think it's a familiar song, but as you listen to this song, if you can just ask yourself, how are you expecting Jesus to be in your Christmas?
Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you this child that you deliver? This child will soon deliver you. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would give sight to the blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would calm a storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels walked, where angels trod? Your baby, you kiss the face of God. The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the mute will speak, the praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will one day rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy was heaven's perfect Lamb? His sleeping child.
Tired of hearing me talk. I just love this next song, Ring Christmas Bells. And it's like, it's a really happy song. And it's talking about, like, if you listen to it, when you listen to it, it talks about sharing our good news with everyone. And it's just like, it's super happy, which is kind of a song I like. I'm kind of that kind of a guy. And so I think we need to, in sharing our good news, we need to be really happy about it, because it is happy good news. And so I hope you guys enjoy this next song. I have one more thing that I forgot to mention. There is prayer cards for us and a few other publication stuff back there if you're interested about more information. Also, I'll be around, me and my wife will be around after the service for any questions you have. And there's a little sign-up sheet if you want to sign up for our updates. Use WhatsApp or email. So.
Christmas bells merrily ring, tell all the world Jesus is King. God we proclaim. Jesus Christ, be our sweet Savior. Oh, the rising of the sun, the running of the deep, the playing of the merry music, singing in the choir. The holy bells are merry, as red as any light, as merry voice, sweet Jesus Christ, who to for sinners
I would like to thank the choir for coming tonight and leading us in worship. And as I was sitting there, I was thankful tonight for the reminder to share the good news. We have been given the best news the world has ever received. And are we going to turn and share that with other people, or are we going to keep it to ourselves? So tonight, I want to challenge all of us to be people who go out and share the good news with other people and evangelize to the world around us. This time, let's all stand. We're going to have a closing prayer, and after the prayer, the choir will sing their last song. Let's all stand. God, tonight, we again thank you that we could come here and worship you. God, thank you for the voices that you have given to us. Thank you for these people and their desire to use their voices to blend together to provide a way for us to worship you. And we thank you for the songs that they sang tonight, that they shared with us. God, we have been given the best thing that has ever happened to anybody. And I pray that each of us would be encouraged and enthusiastic about serving you and sharing that good news with other people. So God, go with us this week. Give us boldness and courage to share. And God, I pray that your blessing would go with us as we go from here. I pray this in your name, amen.